Hey everyone, welcome back to the Castaway Consultants, where we teach future Survivor players how to play the game by critiquing current players. I am one of your three co-hosts, Derek Kubicek, and today we are going to be looking at episode 4 of Survivor 47. Is that blood in your hair? I'm joined tonight by two co-hosts, one remotely who is preparing to go to China, and the other in person, Josh Wessler and Ryan Stacy. How you guys doing?
This is a pretty wild episode of Survivor, gotta say. It was pretty nutso.
I feel like the landscape of the season changed drastically tonight.
Yeah, it was a exciting episode. I'm bummed and confused at the same time, but I had a feeling that it was going to be that way no matter how the vote shook out. We'll get into all that, obviously, after our spoiler alert. But yeah, I think there'll be a lot to talk about for sure.
Would you say that you are shooketh?
Quite shooketh.
The vote shooketh out?
On that note, let's get to spoilers. Spoiler 3, 2, 1. Guys, how's your winner pick doing?
Oh, I'm
Not great, Bob.
Not having a good season. not having a good season. I think this is the first time I've ever gone out twice in the pre-merge since doing the podcast. So do with that what you want to do with it.
So, guys, I have a question for the podcast. I need you guys to refresh my memory. Who's the only one who hasn't gotten their winner pick voted out yet?
This season?
Yeah.
I think it's you, Ryan.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Do you want to know why? Because you're so good at picking Survivor winners, Ryan. Everyone should follow your strategy when it comes to picking winners. And if everyone did that, I mean, Survivor wouldn't, it'd be so predictable if everyone was as good as you.
It's true.
No, it's not true at all. I'm notoriously terrible at winner picks.
No, Ryan, let me genre bear you.
I am.
Let me genre bear you.
I won this round, at least temporarily, so I will take my wins where I get them.
I will say
congratulations.
Your OG pick has lasted the longest, but you could still lose.
Oh yeah, I could be out next week easily. But I beat you too, so so far so good.
Yay! I'm so happy for you, Ryan. At least you have this in your life.
Yes, true. Because we're gonna lose Keyshawn tonight in a shocking whoop-de-wop. We were set up for maybe Soul going home. Oh wait, no. Rome's gonna go home. Oh wait, nope. Keyshawn's going home.
And the more I thought about what happened this episode, as shocking and as altering it is to the landscape of the season, this is absolutely on brand for everything that has happened this season so far. We'll get to it when we get to it, but ultimately this is just more big braining the pre-merge that is causing these people to go home.
Yep, your people are playing too hard in the pre-merge. They're too excited to play. They play too hard, and they get themselves knocked out of the game. You cannot win the game in the pre-merge. You can only lose it.
I can't help but think of the scene from SpongeBob when Patrick sticks his head up, "Here I am," and then just immediately gets walloped.
Yep.
That's exactly what's happening.
And Rome would have been out if you hadn't had the idol and probably the vote steal too.
Yes.
So,
because
advantage
you can
is
lose the game in the pre-merge.
Advantage is notwithstanding. So yeah, it was a pretty epic night. I think we all were kind of on the same page in wanting to see Rome burn, Rome's downfall, if you will. But I think what we got was pretty epic, and I'm pretty okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm not necessarily okay with it just because I really liked Keyshawn as a character and as a player. We didn't get much of him the first episode, which was why he was an under the radar pick for me as a winner pick. But we did get him like the last 2 episodes really starting to come through a little bit more. It's like, oh, I really like this guy's personality. This is fun. Like, he knows the game and he knows how to play the pre-merge. Like, he's staying really behind the scenes under the radar. That changed. That changed this episode. But hey, I can still be bummed because I much more enjoy watching him the little bit that we got versus someone like Rome.
No, I'm glad Rome's here because I like having a villain on the season. But I will say, I bet you Asia really got a couple of I told you so's in, because remember, she wanted Genevieve in the last episode, didn't get her way. Genevieve turned on Keyshawn. So, lol.
Yeah, but if she would have just gone with the vote,
true, but she's gonna
butterfly effect.
Yeah,
everything
of course.
Changed.
But she is gonna say I told you so.
That's easy to say when you're voted out.
Yes,
it's that delicate balance of maybe time would tell, and maybe the multiverse would tell us. Asia stands her ground, gets her way. Genevieve goes home, and maybe Asia goes on to win the season. Maybe this was her moment in the game where she had to stand pat, and in this timeline, she went home. Maybe it bears out like that. I'd be really interested to somehow break the space-time continuum and figure that out. But if Asia wanted to last longer in the game, everything that we said last week still stands
We're
true.
still 100% correct, but Asia is 100% saying I told you so.
We are not batting 1,000, but it is interesting that you have to get to the end and be able to win. And Asia was standing on that particular piece of business because I taught Ryan that phrase last week.
Well, should we jump into the episode proper?
Yes.
Let's do this thing. Episode 4. So we get back to camp after last week, and we're going to get Sol and Teeny talking. And Teeny explains that they voted for Sol, but that wasn't the plan. That wasn't in case of an idol, it turns out. That was just Teeny was too close to Asia, couldn't do it, couldn't pull the trigger there, and threw a vote on Sol instead. Not good. Bad. Don't love that. Just vote out the person. You do, vote out the person, even if you have the emotional connection, because if you cast your vote for someone else in the game, well, guess what? They're still in the game.
And also, once again, we're in the pre-merge. Like, Asia's not going to be on the jury, so you don't have to worry about that.
And it's been 8 days. Chill.
Yeah, if you're going for the money, just vote with the group. Now, it's not bad if she admits that it is a cover for Shot in the Dark, but that's not what happened. That is a bad reason to do that.
But yeah, so Sol is obviously going next, and that's going to be just pretty straightforward throughout the rest of the episode.
Yep, Lavo's not moving.
Over on Gata, Sierra is definitely still thinking about how she wants to hide how close she is with Sam. She's going to go to the girls and make the Breadwinners Alliance. They give it a name. So Annika, Rachel, and Sierra, the Breadwinners Alliance is formed. And I am starting, by the end of this episode, I'm thinking Sierra needs to stick with the Breadwinners and take out Andy and Sam when she gets the opportunity.
I don't know that I completely buy into that because we saw this with Rome on the other tribe where Sam has the hardware. Sam has the hardware right now, and if you try to go against that hardware, Sierra might very well be the next target. If you are going to go against Sam, who Sam thought she was his number one, he could very well play his hardware and try and send her home.
Not if she plays well.
Not if she plays well, but with the little bicker that we saw at camp, I'm wondering if either of them are emotionally strategically savvy enough to work through this. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt until I can no longer. But one small note to this that I thought was funny. She said, I'm not going to let this dating Sam thing get in the way. I'm not going to let it get in my head. Proceeds to talk about it nonstop for 5 minutes of screen time. Sierra, I think it's in your head.
Now, to be fair, it should be in her head.
Yeah.
She should let this get to her because that is the perception other people have of her. Deal with it. Solve the problem. And she's working towards that. We'll see if it pays off for her.
Yeah, I still think the main priority for them should be coming to an actual conclusion together, them being Sierra and Sam, just because it's been vocalized that they're each other's number ones, and you have the other two girls over there. If Sierra wants to go with them, fine, but just know that instead of having a number one, you have 3 people together, and you don't know where you stand in that group of 3. So I like a group of 2 better than a group of 3 if possible.
I don't want to be part of an obvious duo, so I actually disagree with you, Josh. I think she should go with the girls.
Would you rather be part of an obvious duo or a women's alliance?
Let's make it a men's alliance instead, I guess.
Sure.
I would rather be part of a men's alliance.
Well, actually, no. Okay, so I'll actually stick with women's alliance just because we've said on this podcast that women's alliances are more threatening than men's alliances.
So he's saying, Ryan, if you were a woman, would you rather... So if you're Sierra...
I would 100% rather be part of a women's alliance. A successful women's alliance is deadly. Obvious duo,
isn't that a
not
reason
so deadly.
to try to break it up?
Well, sure, but it's harder to break up a large alliance than a duo. A duo is pretty easy to break up.
I think the girls should stick together, and I think Sam should turn on Andy. We have 4 people out now. The merge is coming sooner rather than later. All they have to do is win 1 more immunity, and Sam isn't going to be on the bottom of that 4. And at that point, the 4 has every reason to stick together. So I think at this point, after tonight, which is still early in the episode, so right now Sam needs to be with Andy. But after they win immunity, I feel like he can be more flexible because now you just need to maybe make it 1 more vote.
Over on Tuku, Sue is going to go looking for the Beware Advantage, the idol, and find the Beware Advantage. She takes it, and she has to cut down the idol from a tree. Great, easy, except it dumps a bucket of pig's blood, red paint, down into the jungle.
Okay, Carrie.
So it looks like a murder scene. She gets a fully powered idol, but there's red paint everywhere. I love it.
Caught red-handed, which is still hilarious.
Yep, it's what they did with 42 with Drea, but this is more over the top, and I love it.
Oh, I absolutely love this because wasn't the paint like in the ground or something?
It was like in
where like it was in front of her, and she could still make that decision after she saw the paint. Whereas this one, she cuts it down, and the second that rope snaps, it's over.
Yep.
Like you're committed there. And it's like, oh. It's more than like this is really beware. This isn't just, oh, I don't want to get caught
Yep.
chopping this rope. Like, no, there's a lot more to this than you think, Sue.
She managed to clean up most of it, but she leaves a little bit on her chin and her hair. When Caroline and Tiana walk up on her, they're like, "Oh, did you hurt yourself?" And Sue's not a great liar, it turns out, and just is real sus. Drop the E, add the S. Sue is sus. And Tiana has concerns, rightfully so. But hey, Sue does have an idol.
That was a big fly. Blood on her face and her hair on her hands. I mean, I don't know about Fijian flies, but that was her cover story. It was good enough at first, but then there was more in her hair. Like, oh no.
Well, and then she also cut her tongue or lip or something like that. So she just kept throwing stuff out. They're just like, they got to believe one of these things.
Yep. Like, oh yeah, I just must have cut myself. Easy, move on. Yeah, I tripped. Whatever. No big deal.
I stuck a pig and I wiped the blood all over my face and hair.
Yep.
And I ate the pig already.
And I ate it.
There's no mirrors out there, so both times this has happened so far in Survivor, both people have seen the red paint. So if you go into this, if you run into the red paint situation, clean yourself best you can, have a lie ready if you do miss something, try and take a bath as soon as possible, but just be ready to get caught and have a lie.
Straight into the ocean.
Yep. Over on Lavo, everyone's going to go idol hunting, but no one's going to find it in this episode. We're going to get Rome trying to talk Soul out of looking for an idol. LOL. And Soul's just like, are you serious? Leave me alone. And Keyshawn's going to try to keep Rome going after Soul, like babysit him, do the old Andrea strategy and just stick with him to keep annoying him and prevent these two from working together. And it works. Like, Rome's going to stick with Soul, babysit him, and then boy, oh boy, is Soul annoyed. I feel so bad for him.
And I love the fourth wall breaking we get from Teeny, just staring at the camera, just like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, we get Jim panning to the camera. We get a couple of these. I still really like Jeremy in Winners at War, even if he gets caught in that one by Ben. But I think this episode with Soul, they kind of paint him as an unsavvy player. But I want to try and remind the audience, at least our audience, that he was in a pretty good spot if Rome doesn't have hardware.
Yep.
I don't like that he's not humoring Rome a little bit on these fronts, but Rome is who he is, and I can imagine that what we saw was just a taste, just a fraction of what happened out there. And at that point, I do think it's important maybe not to be bullied.
Maybe just go to the bathroom. Go take a large number 2 and see if Rome just sticks around and watches.
Just drop trow right there. No, you can't do that
You
on Survivor anymore.
But in the bathroom, you can.
What you could do is maybe try and wield production as a weapon and say, I want to go do a confessional now. Then you could maybe get some alone time. Just have that confessional planned.
Can you choose to do that?
I bet you can. I bet if you've got something juicy to say, they will take you aside for a confessional whenever you want.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something only the players know. I know that they will take you aside. But yeah, if you ask them, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what they would do. I don't know if they would in that situation. Maybe they want to just see Rome and Soul get into it even more.
But also, respect the play. Oh, we're manipulating production a little bit?
Yep.
I respect it.
Worth the attempt.
Yeah.
Or you could just take off running and try and lose him.
Rick Devens.
Or Russell Hantz did it first. Just sprint off into the jungle to see if Rome can keep up with you.
Yeah, but I like Rick better. And he turned his into a Charlie Chaplin comedy skit.
That's fair. Genevieve kind of feels bad about Rome because that is her closest ally. So she goes to Soul to apologize. And she can tell everyone is pretty annoyed with him except her. Soul, good for him. He's going to try and throw out a lifeline here for himself. He's like, hey, we could go to Rome. You could save me. Hint, hint.
I would love this.
Over on Gata, Andy's going to drop his shot in the dark in the shelter. And apparently he's just a clumsy, sloppy guy. It just fell out of his bag. And Sam's going to tell him, like, dude, you lost your shot in the dark. Go get it. And
also, I don't know if you caught, but I think he said you lost your shot in the dark again.
So did he lose it twice?
That's what I got.
Oh gosh. So Sierra especially is like, I don't know if I can work with him. He's not very careful. Fair.
More to the side of maybe considering cutting bait with Andy. And even for Sam, if you get through this immunity challenge. Retroactive thinking right now, I think you got to deal with it, but man, this guy, he's a mess. Side note, it would be funny for someone to take his shot in the dark out of his bag and then just drop it under the shelter. Dude, really? A third time?
You're not allowed to do that. I'm certain you're not allowed to do that.
Fair enough.
But that would be funny. But yeah, Andy and Sierra's a little hesitant about work with Andy. But she and Andy have a nice talk, and Sierra's not accidentally, she's going to do it on purpose, but in an ill-conceived move, she tells Andy the name of the girls' lines, the breadwinners. She has not told Sam this information. So Andy's going to go to Sam and be like, hey, yeah, Sierra really trusts me. I think she's with us. She told me the name of the girls' alliance that they have. And Sam's like, wait, what? Excuse me?
Uh-oh.
Excuse me, I'm the breadwinner here? So Sam's going to confront Sierra about it, and it's dumb. It's a big dumb fight, and I'm really nervous about like the two of them working together. I think Sierra will flip, go with the girls, take out Andy and Sam. I think that's where we're going here.
It's a tricky situation because I think Sam freaks out because he doesn't have control over this social aspect that's going on at the fence line of where those alliances are drawn. And that manifests itself as a certain level of insecurity. I understand being insecure in Survivor, but if you want to present confident, you need to place your trust in that person, and hopefully you're right. I mean, not to say something that Jeff says all the time at Tribal Council, but you trust who you trust, and the people who are right are the ones who are going to win the game. Sam, if Sierra's already gone into the Women's Alliance, then you know you need to play your idol, and you need to probably take her out because she has betrayed you. If not, she's with you. That's your choice to make. But that's not your situation to confront her about a named alliance. Like, come on, let's not get angry over something that Nick Wilson kind of started, not to bring him up on the podcast.
F. Nick Wilson. Yeah, no, he should have just kept this information, lose some trust in Sierra, and keep an eye on that, but don't confront her with that information. Confronting her with the information does no good.
Yeah. Or also have a healthy dose of skepticism that Andy is coming to you with this information.
I mean, yes, technically, but it's Andy.
It's Andy, and Andy has a difficult time lying. I get that. I'm just saying, like, you need a healthy dose of skepticism all around if you're Sam. But you don't, I guess it's not quite public forum, but you don't outburst it.
I don't know if it was an outburst, but I think it's more so, what happens going forward now. To me, it's up to Sam. From Sierra's point of view, now you have information that Andy went and told Sam immediately about this information that you gave him. If I'm Sierra, there's the answer to the whole, should I go with the girls or should I go with Sam and Andy? I don't even see that being an option anymore for Sierra. So now I say that she basically just leaves it up to Sam to be like, hey, we're going this way. If you don't want to do that, that is your own choice, but I can't work with Andy. And she just has to draw the line in the sand knowing that she probably has those numbers.
Honestly, maybe even a better option if we're going this route, just blindside Sam. Get that idol out of here.
You could try.
But again, wait, it is only good for one.
So he's going to probably play it on himself.
Yeah, don't bother.
Now I could see Sam big braining it and playing it on Andy. I absolutely could see it happening. We've had a lot of big brain pre-merge plays so far.
Don't tell Sam anything. Agree with this plan. Vote out Andy, and think that it's going to be Annika or something. That should be what they do next. Sierra needs to cut ties with them and go with the girls. Immunity challenge. So it's pretty even all the way up to the puzzle. Rome and Genevieve are doing the puzzle for Lavo. And I was convinced Rome was throwing this thing because they do not get a single piece. Apparently that was not the case. According to Rome, he was trying and just failed miserably. But man, oh man, I would have bet money that this was a throw.
I gotta be honest, I don't believe a single word, because he was smiling while he was sitting there trying to put the pieces together. He was smiling afterward. I know he said in confessional that he was just that bad. I don't believe him for 1 second.
See, I
believe him. I believe he's that bad. I believe he's that bad.
I believe it too, because I feel like if he was throwing it and he's just like, he's so proud of himself with his big brain move to get rid of Soul, I think he would have told us. I really do.
Well, and here's the other thing is these puzzles aren't easy, and he's taking full control over that puzzle. I don't know who was I don't remember who was handing him the pieces,
Genevieve.
But the person, Genevieve, handing him the pieces wasn't doing anything because she can't see the design of the base of the puzzle. She can't, give him the right piece. He has to figure it out and, actually swap it out for her. And then he's just not going to give up his spot because, I don't know, a combination of being too prideful or, he's in a really comfortable spot on his tribe. So, he doesn't really feel the heat or the need to get desperate and switch himself out for someone else, because I don't think he's really worried if they ended up losing. He'd been like, it's going to be Saul anyways. So if we lose, It's all right.
So Gatsa's going to win. Tuku gets second. Lavo's going back to Tribal Council. But before we go, we're going on a journey. Or everyone's going, sending one person on a journey. On Gatsa, who wins, they get to pick. Andy's going to go. And Andy definitely needs to go. I think he's in the worst spot on that tribe. So if anyone should go from that tribe, it should be Andy.
And I'm guessing that he volunteered.
Yeah.
I can, and if he did, I don't hate the move for Andy.
Yep. How do you feel about everyone else being okay sending him, though?
You have to keep up appearances. I don't think that there's anything that you can do to stop this right now, especially if you're the 3 women and like you know that there is an option. Like Andy might come back with an idol, but you can always try to go the Sam route. Or if you're Annika and Rachel, you could go Sierra. And then if you're Sierra, you certainly don't stand in the way of the guy that Sam wants to work with going. It gets really complex. I think if the person volunteers, you just let them go. Now, we didn't see it, but...
And it seems like more often than not, people come back with a lost vote.
Yes.
But yeah, Andy's going to go, and they're going to also send Teeny and Caroline. On Lavo, the plan is to vote out Soul. Rome wants to try and not play his vote steal, so he's got this couple of plans here. He and Keyshawn talk, and they want to convince Soul that he's going to be safe and just like to vote and not play a shot in the dark. And Keyshawn suggests Genevieve because she's the weakest. Whoops.
Yeah, so Rome is going to accidentally, I think, possibly oversell this. I don't think Keyshawn was really interested in voting out Genevieve. He was just interested in it not being his name, and there was no one else to say.
Yes.
That said, you still dropped a name.
Yep. You got to be careful when dropping those names. Like, oops, dropped my names. Dropped some names all over the beach.
And this is a much bigger danger we're realizing now that Shot in the Dark is a thing.
Yep.
Throwing out a name isn't just willy-nilly anymore. You can't be like Colby, like, oh, we'll just have everybody vote for me. It doesn't matter. I don't care. You can't do that anymore because a Shot in the Dark might just send you home for no reason other than chance.
Yep.
Chance time Survivor.
Yep. Don't throw out names. Don't just throw out names as backup votes. Don't do it. Let
All he
someone
had
else
to
do
do
it.
was just ask Rome.
Yep.
Like, they're having this conversation. It's like, I don't know. Who do you think he would go for? Because the answer's probably Rome.
Yeah. This is I think is slam dunk. Don't do this. This is bad.
Or if Keyshawn has a good bond with Soul, you tell Rome, me, I can be the one. You go tell him, and I'm the backup vote. And then you go to Soul and be like, I know you were told me, but we're going for Rome tonight.
Sure. If you want to volunteer yourself in a bit of a gamble and try and manipulate the things behind the scenes, you can do that, but don't throw anyone else's name out if you're not planning on that person going home.
Yeah, that is entirely dependent on your bond with Soul at that point.
Rome is going to go to Soul and threaten him. He's like, hey, if you hand over your shot in the dark, you and I can work together and vote out Genevieve. If you don't hand over your shot in the dark, I'm going to use my vote steal, take your vote, you can't play it anyway, and you're going home. And so it's like, oh, you're threatening me. And it's like, no, it's not a threat, it's an ultimatum. Same damn thing. But yeah, Rome's a jerk here. Rome is a jerk here. Don't do this. You need to be likable to win this game.
Yeah, this is a power-hungry move. And I understand that if Soul leaves now, pre-merge, it doesn't matter. But these are things that are going to follow you by the people who eventually want to get you out.
So yeah, basically he's threatening Soul. Soul does not like that. So Keyshawn and Genevieve, they're kind of a little bit, mostly Keyshawn gets like Rome's crap. So they discuss maybe throwing their votes on Rome instead. Because if Rome steals Soul's vote, it would be a tie, and then Rome wouldn't be able to vote on the revote, so he'd be out.
And I think it's important to also note that there was something that Genevieve said before we get into everything else that's going to end up coming up, that she wants Rome out. And this is the first time I've heard her talk about Rome at all. I don't remember if it was kind of in this segment of the show, if it was a little bit earlier on, where she was saying, you can only throw out someone's name so many times before it ends up being you. So she essentially was giving up on making Rome the name.
Or keeping Rome from being the name.
Well, no, I think it was like she was okay getting rid of Rome because of how annoying he was.
She was okay with getting Rome at the beginning, getting rid of Rome at the beginning of the episode. She likes Rome. She's the only person who likes Rome, but she realizes nobody else does, and she can't stick her neck out to save him. She might have to let him go. It was more of that. I mean, if people hate Rome so much, she'll be tied in with him, kind of like Parvati and Russell were in Heroes versus Villains. But like, she does still like Rome, and he is her closest ally. So, yeah, she might have to get rid of Rome, but with what happens later on and she realizes she can't trust the other people on the beach, Keyshawn, that's going to change things up. It's all about trust. But they're going to try and pull Soul in to sneakily take out Rome. On the journey, Teeny's going to tell their tribe that Rome and Soul don't like each other, so one of them is definitely going home tonight. Definitely one of those two.
Yeah, nobody else.
And Andy's like, hey, I'm on the bottom, so if we get to the merge, come find me. I'll tell you everything you want to know.
Okay.
Okay. Very true. But the challenge here tonight is one of them has to lose their vote. If one of them gives up their vote, they all get an advantage in the game. If none of them agree to do it, all of them lose their vote. And eventually Teeny is going to give up their vote because they don't think it's super necessary. I don't love this for Teeny because obviously they needed their vote. Results-oriented thinking, but more often than not, you're going to need your vote. Here's what I would have done if I was in Teeny's spot. Suggested rock, paper, scissors. If nobody is going to give up, just say, let's just do rock, paper, scissors, loser loses their vote. And that way we don't all lose our votes. That is probably the best route to go.
I think that's a reasonable solution. I'm going to come back and say, I mean, even with results-oriented thinking, if Rome is tipped off about what Keyshawn is doing and he steals that vote, Teeny's vote actually does not matter.
Fair.
I don't think there's any loved loss for Teeny giving up their vote or anything really gained. I think the other two might just see it as a, haha, outmaneuvered Teeny. But I don't think this is that bad.
It's not that bad.
For Teeny to give it up. It's best if you can keep it. But ultimately, I think Teeny did the math and realized their vote did not matter tonight.
Again, I still would have done the rock, paper, scissors. I think that would have been better.
Yeah, I think putting it up to complete chance, like you're saying, Ryan, is probably the best move. I actually liked this from Teeny just because you might be able to, curry a little favor with the other two by volunteering for it, being like, yeah, I know you guys might be in tough spots on your tribes. I think I can sacrifice my vote for the group of us. And maybe that will come around in the future. You never know, especially since it doesn't seem like their vote really matters a whole lot for this one tribal. And also, how are you to expect Keyshawn to be
I always come back to, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Caroline and Annie are going to be like, I don't know, Teeny anything. That was a bad move from them. So no, I'm going to disagree and just say, don't do this. Like 99.9% of the time, don't do this. You have to be 100% sure you don't need your vote. And there needs to be a little more on the line than what was on the line. I don't like it.
The other thing you need to think about is how strong are you with your core? How strong do you think you are with your core? And what good does it do you to help Caroline and Andy advance their games? I don't know that there's much there other than just trying to extend olive branches.
Yeah, if the person could be your best friend, that could be your worst enemy, you don't know, and don't risk your vote on that question mark.
Yeah, the house is made of paper mache.
So what they're going to get, they're going to get the amulet idol, which is a little different than the amulet advantage. It is 3 amulets. They all have to be played together if they're in the game. If there's only 2 in the game, they both have to be played together, 1 in the game. It can be played by itself. Not active until everyone's living on the same beach, and they work as an idol. So if all 3 of them play it, it works as an idol. You're still incentivized to vote the other ones out.
Yes, the incentive for war is still there. I would be interested to know if they can give that amulet to someone else. So you don't know if you're voting out the person with the amulet or voting out just a random person.
Is it transferable?
I would assume that it would be.
But this is not an advantage.
No.
No, but it is better than the previous form of the amulet. It's just so much more straightforward, and it isn't an escalating thing where there's like overwhelming incentive to vote each other out. Now it's like, we probably should just to make this easier because it's unlikely we're going to be able to come to a consensus. But do we have to? We'll see.
What I like from the players is none of them cared about the idol. They were all thinking, I don't want to lose my vote, and production is making me do this. I seriously got the vibe. Really, Jeff? Okay, well, we're just going to minimize the damage done here, and we're going to move on with our lives.
Even Teeny was like, can we not come after each other for this? Like, I already know what's gonna happen here, but please just don't.
Always be the person to turn on the others. In the amulet advantage situation, you're all gonna say, let's not turn on each other. Be the person to turn on the other two. Sorry, you gotta be the one to do it. The other ones are gonna do it. You go first.
I have a prediction that Teeny is gonna go to Andy, and they're going to vote out Caroline early on in the merge.
Possible, certainly possible.
I saw that tease, come to me, I'll tell you everything you want to know about Gata. And I think we've seen Teeny as the more strategic of the players, the more savvy of the two between Caroline and Teeny. So I think that Teeny might go wrap in Andy.
So Andy and Caroline, they're going to get back to camp, tell the complete truth and nothing but the truth. Teeny's going to tell the tribe that they lost their vote, but then tell Keyshawn and Genevieve about the amulets. But no vote is the important thing for Teeny tonight. And they're going to target Rome. This group's going to go after Rome. Everyone's on board to take out Rome. What could possibly go wrong? So, Rome is going to talk to Genevieve and basically tell her that Keyshawn threw her name out as the backup vote. So this makes Genevieve not trust Keyshawn anymore and be like, okay, I don't trust Keyshawn. Let's not get rid of Rome, my closest ally. She's going to tell Rome what the plan was to take him out. So this is going to shake things up royally. So Genevieve is going to go to Sol and ask him to vote for Keyshawn. He refuses. Rome still wants to take out Sol and not Keyshawn, but Genevieve wants Keyshawn out. So there's a whole bunch of discussion about what to do, who to vote for, where the vote still should go, and it's just chaos as we're going to tribal council. And wow.
There's a lot here.
There's a lot here, and honestly, most of it's bad, in my opinion.
A good chunk of it's bad. I won't say all of it's bad. Well,
Okay.
we'll get into that. We'll get into that with best player of the episode and worst player of the episode, I'm sure. But
I'm sure we'll have disagreements then.
you probably
It's possible.
at tribal council, it's pretty wild. Rome is going to steal Keyshawn's vote. So he's going to put both of his votes on Keyshawn. Genevieve is going to put her vote on Keyshawn. Sol is very confused and is like, I don't know what to do. I thought he was going to play a shot in the dark, possibly, but no, he's going to have to put his vote on Keyshawn. So we have 4 votes for Keyshawn, 0 votes for anybody else. Goddamn.
It's a lot.
What a quick fall.
And really, the blame falls with Keyshawn, I think.
Yep.
It's not the fact that he threw out Genevieve's name. I don't know how much I completely buy that. I do think it is trying to loop Genevieve in on a plan in the pre-merge to take out who everybody knows is her number 1. So, I mean, we can be fed anything. Like, the edit needs to give us a reason that Genevieve doesn't want to go with this plan, but it could be very well that she was never really that interested. She never really seemed that interested to me. So this is just Keyshawn getting too fancy in the pre-merge.
Yep.
You made your bed by voting out Asia last time. We talked about it in 43. Just finish the job.
Yep.
Keyshawn, vote Sol out tonight. Let him go. It's fine. Rome is a little unstable. Eventually he'll go home and Genevieve will still want to work with you if you don't break her trust.
Yep, and don't throw out her name.
So I think it ultimately starts with Keyshawn here.
Starts with Keyshawn. He kicked over the first domino that sent a wave of bad moves to happen, in my opinion. You know, let Sol go, have it be a foursome, a nice group of 4. There's no way, I shouldn't say no way, but you know, so much trust has already been broken from Sol's point of view from the last vote that honestly, sometimes the easiest vote's the right vote in the pre-merge. Get a solid group of 4 going, and then if you need to, you can blindside Keyshawn because Genevieve might not want to, you know, split and have it be a 2-2 vote after that. From Genevieve's perspective, you know, if it really was just, you know, the thing that, you know, broke the mirror in front of her being the fact that Keyshawn tossed out your name, I don't think that that's a good enough reason to go against this. If you have a majority of people who want to get Rome out and it's just strictly because you've been the closest with him, it's kind of like, you know, we were talking about Asia last week. Be okay cutting him just because he's your main person here. Doesn't mean that he has to be your main person for the rest of the game. You could have a new group of 4 if you think that you can be a nice cohesive group going forward by taking out Rome. And then finally, you know, Sol should have just played a shot in the dark. I don't know why he wouldn't. Your vote isn't going to change anything at this point. Just try to keep yourself in the game.
Yeah, I think Sol should have played a shot in the dark just to be careful, be safe. But I ultimately do think this was the right move because I think it's a double whammy. It's Genevieve found out Keyshawn threw her name out, lose some trust. Also, the plan is to get rid of her closest ally. So it's like, they want me to get rid of my closest ally and they're also dropping my name. I don't want to do this anymore. And I have the power to stop it, unlike Asia last time. So I actually like this move for Genevieve. Now, the question for me is, did the right person go home? Is it between Sol and Keyshawn? Because it's not Rome. Rome should have stayed and did stay. So should it be Sol or Keyshawn? Boy, you know what? I'll leave it up to Genevieve and Rome on this one because I don't know between those two.
Cop out. I say it's Sol. I think from the beginning it should have been Sol. Halfway through it should have been Sol. At the end it should have been Sol. Keep this group of 4 together and you can turn on each other if needed later. It just seemed unnecessary to me.
I think that Genevieve made the right move for herself tonight. One thing that no one is talking about is Teeny refused to vote for Asia because they were very close with Asia. Asia's plan was to vote out Genevieve. That means that Genevieve's name has already been thrown out by what is deemed to be a larger core group in this alliance. Now she hears that her name was tossed out as little as it was, and it is to vote out her number 1. If she does go with this brand new 4, she is the bottom of that 4. And if she goes on with that 4, either Keyshawn or Teenie are likely to win the game at the end. In this brand new 4, I think she does, because she's in the driver's seat, and she breaks up the power duo. If you send Sol home, then you just have Teenie and Keyshawn versus Rome and Genevieve, and in that situation, it's already fractured. You've already broken trust with Keyshawn, and now there's 2 people who you have to work against rather than at least Sol, who's a free agent and just happy probably not to go home in the short term. Lavo is done. I think Lavo is completely done, and if that's the case, all you can do is have them be done with you in the best position. It's messy. I don't think she wants to be in this situation, but she's here, and if she's in the power position, I think she made the right call.
I think the fact that Lavo being done, which I 100% agree on, I think that this is going to just be a bunch of free agents come merge time. I think that tells you right there that this was the wrong move.
No, I think it tells me that other people were made this tribe a disaster, and Genevieve is getting out of this as unscathed as she can.
Yeah, if we rewind, Teenie, Asia, and Keyshawn make Genevieve feel like she's not on the bottom.
Yep.
If she had a good social read that she is the bottom of that 4 because Keyshawn and Teenie wanted to keep Sol, this is the right move for Genevieve. You shouldn't have given her so much power this vote. But because of Rome's advantage, he already had a ton of power, especially after Teenie gave up their vote. Now, was Teenie right that their vote couldn't really alter this? Absolutely they were. But for Genevieve's game, this is for Genevieve. We are going to do what is best for Genevieve, and I think that she accomplished that tonight.
I don't know if I agree, but I'll leave it at that.
What does Twitter have to say?
Twitter's on my side, so screw you guys.
I mean, yes, I would have bet money that Twitter is on Josh's side this time.
88% of people said that no, the right person did not go home. And we did get a couple nice little comments basically saying like, no, but this is way more entertaining having it this way. And also comments about the tribe just being fractured and, what is going to happen with these people going forward. Who knows? We'll see.
Follow Rome indeed. All right, let's get into best and worst player of the episode. Derek, kick us off. Who is the best player of the episode?
Making the best of a bad situation, it is Genevieve. Now, I feel like I need to be fully honest with the listeners. When the episode first ended and it was fresh, I thought that she had made the wrong move, and I was on Josh's team, where she should have played peacemaker and just lived with the fact that she's on what could go forward as a cohesive 4. But as I started to dig into it, I realized that she had every reason not to do that in the short term and very likely in the long term, because Lavo was already done from her perspective. Now it's just done from everybody's perspective. And she's in a power position short term to be able to move forward. Perhaps the most likely left on Lavo to win in terms of getting to the end, because Teenie, although a winner in their own regard, potentially, is on their back foot and could go home next. So I have Genevieve because now she's in the driver's seat. She did what was best for her. She got Keyshawn, who threw her name out, gone, and I think made the best social read that she would have been 4 out of 4 if she had gone with Keyshawn. So I have Genevieve.
Josh?
Genevieve's in an imaginary driver's seat. I don't think anyone played good this episode, or played well this episode, so I'm going with Sue. She found an idol and mostly came out unscathed, yet Tiana is skeptical of her because she's not a great liar, we found out. But at the same time, I just didn't like anybody else this episode as far as good gameplay. So it's like, sure, Sue.
I'm going to agree with Derek. It's Genevieve. She takes out a person who was throwing her name out, and she keeps her closest ally. She's in the best position probably on this tribe. Not that impressive. It's like being the tallest person in Munchkinland. Not that great. But just still in the best spot. I don't think she's going next. The Rome and Sol still hate each other. Her closest allies in the game. I think Teenie will be okay because Teenie doesn't have the blood on their hands because they didn't actually vote. I still think the conflict between Sol and Rome will continue, but it won't be Genevieve. I think she'll be fine.
And to make a funny analogy, in my opinion, if you're on the Titanic, the best case scenario is you end up on a lifeboat.
Yep.
And I think Genevieve managed to do that.
Yep. Now, Genevieve is the Rose. She's on the floating door. How many people can fit on this floating door? Who's getting kicked off? Who we sending? Who's the Leo getting sent to the bottom of the ocean?
I won't let go. I won't let go.
I will absolutely let go.
Rose absolutely lets go of Rome in this scenario. Well, don't let the iceberg hit you.
But Derek, here's to being on the same side against Josh. This doesn't happen a ton, I feel like.
It probably is mostly because he's remote right now, and he
yeah, so Derek is being infected by Ryan's takes. I'll leave it at that.
Nope. We did not pre-discuss anything.
I don't believe you. And one last thing, just because Ryan mentioned it as best player of the episode, it is not that big of a deal that Keyshawn threw out your name because it was the most casual thing ever. And if you're going to get caught up on that one specific thing, he's not throwing it out because he thinks that you're at the bottom or anything like that. It's because he thinks that it would be the most believable thing. And also he might just be stroking Rome's ego at that point. So just don't get hung up on something like that.
Get hung up on something like that when there's other things going on.
Legitimately thought that they had a solid group of three. Him, Teeny, and Genevieve. You could have had a solid group of three going forward. Now you just have you and Rome. Have fun with that.
I'm going to come to Ryan's defense with a very Ryan argument, and I know that this is bad, but let us use some omnipotent, retroactive thinking. This is results-oriented thinking. We know, based on conversations that have occurred...
Sorry, Winston broke in. Hold on. Jeez. Hold on.
I'm leaving this in.
Josh's puppy broke into his recording studio, and he's locked the pupper out. So everyone send Josh your hate.
No. Ask Josh for pet photos.
Yes, we need photos of Winston.
Oh, sorry.
No, Josh. Literally, this is all staying in because it's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
We know from our omnipotent point of view, or at least our limited point of view, that Genevieve is 4 of 4. Genevieve's out there with this group every day. If she knows that she is 4 of 4, it's not just the fact that Keyshawn threw her name out. It is accumulation of everything that has gone on and this plan feeling fishy. And it's like, you need me to do this to put myself in a worse position, and you know that. Why would you do that?
While throwing my name out.
And this is hard for me because Genevieve is a lawyer. That's another layer to this. I'm recognizing my bias, but I think this time the lawyer was absolutely right.
Yeah, but she's a Canadian lawyer, so it might even itself out.
All I'm saying is it's not always just black and white. You know, someone threw out my name, so now they have to go home.
And that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I've been saying at all. That was just one factor.
One factor.
There in many other things
that you focused on in your best player.
Sure, but there was many things going on. Yeah. Josh, give us your worst player of the episode.
My worst player was Genevieve. I didn't like this move. It was Genevieve here. I don't need to reiterate everything else. Like I just did not like this move. If I could give it to Keyshawn, I'd give it to Keyshawn because it was his fault that we even got to this point. So like it is not Genevieve's fault, but she's the next remaining person here after Keyshawn's out. So I am going to give it to her.
I don't agree with you, but I respect it. If you don't agree with Genevieve's move, then she is the worst player of the episode.
The formula you're using, Josh, is wrong, but you followed it to your answer, which is it's just a wrong answer. You just took the wrong path.
Yeah, I would much like your point system.
The formula is right, but the inputs are wrong.
Oh, sure, that works. There's nothing wrong with my point system.
No, I mean, now I'm back on Josh's team.
For my worst player, mine is Andy. He lost his shot in the dark multiple times. He's seen his slopping. People have lost trust in him. Plus, he told Sam that information that Sierra told him, and Sierra doesn't want to work with him anymore. He was getting back into the spot he needed to be in, and then he just torpedoed most of it. So Andy's my worst.
I don't have Andy, but I'm sticking on that tribe. I'm giving it to Sam because I really don't like the way he handled the Breadwinner Alliance information. He confronted Sierra and maybe very well backed himself right into a corner with it. Sierra can ultimately choose to go with those three. And yeah, you might be able to save yourself once with an idol. You didn't find that idol this episode, so you don't get points from me on that. And if you force her or threaten her with the idol, you've now burned all of your social equity to save yourself in that situation, but sure, you got your way today. Or maybe you just big-brained yourself out of the game again by trying to stick up for Andy, who, again, went public forum unstable on everybody and makes me feel like nobody on Gata can win this game. So I'm giving it to Sam because I feel like the way he handled it and the way he handled his insecurities really manifested itself negatively with his number one, who unfortunately for Sam, has options.
He's my dishonorable mention.
And a fair one at that.
All right, let's get into who is going next. I'll kick us off on the Gata tribe. I think Sierra will flip. I think Andy goes home here because Sam has Seattle.
I am Andy as well.
And I'm flipping back to Andy. We just keep going back and forth now, just depending on how Andy acts that episode.
Derek, take us over to Lava. Who's going next?
Who's getting kicked off the door?
Yeah. Who's getting dropped?
I have Rome because I think that Genevieve does understand that Rome has to go eventually. And I think that Teeny does have a good enough relationship with Genevieve and some plausible deniability because they were on the island when Keyshawn was cooking up this really crap sandwich. And part of this is edit. I totally acknowledge that. I don't think Teeny is going next, and I don't think that it's going to be Soul. And Rome is out of hardware and is erratic. If you want to go in with any kind of strength, these remaining 3 of Lavo need to figure out something. If Genevieve is going to set emotion aside, I do think getting rid of an erratic player is possibly an option. I'm not saying it's her best option. I'm saying it's what I think might happen based on edit. So, take that for what you will. This isn't game theory. This is me using editology.
If Rome goes next, that makes Genevieve's move this episode inexcusable. That would make absolutely no sense based off of any logic that she used in this episode. I'm not saying that it can't happen because once again, I didn't agree with her logic this time, but any reason for wanting to keep Rome around should be that he's your number one ally that you're going to, be working with long term, not because you're just going to turn on him the very next episode. I had Soul. It's the person who should have gone this episode, so I'm just trying to use logic, but, who knows at this point.
I'm going to say it's Soul because I think Genevieve now has made her bed with Rome. I think she's going to stick to it and take out Soul next. Seems like she gets along well with Teeny. Teeny has that plausible deniability, so I think it's Soul.
I won't fight you on it.
Josh, take us over to Taku, whatever the hell they're called, Taku. Who's going next on Taku?
I stuck with the same person as last week. I'm going Tiana.
Yeah, this is a weird one. I really don't know. I mean, we see this fight between Gabe and Tiana. Gabe, speaking of sloppy, Gabe just feels like someone who's just going to trip and spill this game all over the place at some point. So I'm just going to say Gabe. I really have no faith in this guy.
I'm going with Tiana based on the social connections. I think that Gabe is going to get what he wants with Sue. We keep being fed this line. This is what he wanted. This goes one of two ways. Either Sue turns it on Gabe's head, or Gabe is 100% right, and this thing's got legs. And for right now, I haven't been given any reason from Sue to think that this doesn't have legs. She already shut Kyle down once when Kyle went to her with the truth about flipping on Tiana. So I'm going to say that it's got enough legs, and I'm going to say Tiana goes home.
Okay. Let's check in on who can't win. So yeah, Josh and I were on the same page last time. We both had Rome and you had Andy.
Yep.
I am sticking with Rome. This guy is not making any friends, really.
Yeah, and he's also just not being taken seriously, so I'm also sticking with Rome.
And I'm sticking with Andy. One thing that Rome did at the end of this episode, he did apologize to Soul. It shows some development. It shows a little bit of self-awareness. To be clear, in a final 3, I don't think either of these guys can win. But as of the perception right now, I still think Andy loses.
I think that apology just reeked of desperation. I didn't buy it for a second.
Well, I don't think it reeks of desperation. He didn't need it. He did not need to apologize. He had the power. So, I mean, I guess I don't agree with it.
Let's get into the Survivor pool. Josh, who did we all have last week?
Yeah, Ryan picked Teeny, Derek picked Sam, I picked Rome, and we didn't have any listeners that lost yet again.
We all made it through once more. I believe that. All right, so Derek, who is next in your Survivor pool pick?
I'm going with the risky one. I'm picking Kyle.
Okay.
The edit says that he's not winning. I don't know how long he is here, but I think Tiana's going next, and I will make my bed with that.
Okay. Josh?
Might be risky as well. I'm going Genevieve. I don't think that she's going to make it super far in the game, so I'm just hoping it's not this next episode. I'm hoping that it's going to be someone like Soul or Rome next.
Okay. Sue has an idol. I pick Sue.
Yeah, figures.
I'm not doing that a 4th time in a row.
Yeah, but keep sending those in, and we'll see who makes it, who doesn't, and if you get eliminated, we'll give you a shout out. Nice memorial.
Yeah, and by the way, no new forks from Derek this week. I'm sticking with Andy, Rome, and Annika as my only 3 forks.
Okay. Last thing we got to do, the part I was really looking forward to. Derek and Josh, you have both lost your winner picks. It's time for you to pick new ones. Who you guys got?
Yeah, I hate all of it. I'm going with Gabe. and it's because of the Sioux connection. Yeah, I cannot pick a winner based on where anybody is in standing on their tribe right now or options that people have. So I'm taking the tribe that, weirdly enough, feels the most functional right now, and the person I think who has the most latitude on that tribe to go far based on what we've seen with social connections. I'm going with Gabe. I hate it, but I really liked my last 2 picks. And Asia and Keyshawn went out back to back, so obviously I need to try something different. I'm already in extra innings here. I'm out of time.
Yeah, I hate everyone on this season in terms of winner picks. I enjoy them as people and it's been entertaining and that's all nice, but it's almost a repeat of the premiere where I do not see a winner on this cast. So it might be a little bit of a cop out, but I think I'm just going to pick the person who I think is the best possible social player, and that's Teeny.
Woo.
I don't know how that's going to end up working out, but I'm just going with Teeny.
Welcome, Josh.
I want you to know, listeners, dear listeners, by not picking Teeny, I was trying my best not to curse them. Because if I pick Teeny, Teeny's going home next, and I didn't want to do that. I can see Teeny being a good winner pick here, but I'm locking in Gabe.
All right, that does it for this episode. Social media.
Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Castaway Pod, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Castaway Consultants. We have a website if you want to go look at Ryan's blogs or find any of our episodes, which is thecastawayconsultants.com. And we are interacting with people on Spotify. Derek?
Yep, just leave your comments, and if we like what we see, we're going to publish them. And by the way, we saw on Reddit that we popped up in Best Survivor podcasts a couple times over the last few weeks.
Yes, thank you.
And
thank you very much.
This is unprompted. We don't advertise on Reddit, so thank you. I don't know if that was listening to my homework assignment or if you guys genuinely feel that way. I pop in and I thank you for it. So if you see me respond, just know very likely it's actually me, and we are very grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, and then just one last piece of housekeeping. I am going to be out of the country. I'm going to China for work. So I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks. So anyone listening to this, I guess, episode, this will be the last you hear of me until the end of October. And that means that since Ryan and Derek are both lazy, there will not be any videos that will be coming out.
Nope. No, there will not be.
But that's the beauty of having the embed for YouTube is you can still listen on YouTube. It's just the audio only version. But you'll still be able to find us in that same place.
Yep, so no Josh for the next 2 episodes. It'll just be me and Derek holding down the fort. All right, on that note, this has been the Castaway Consultants.
Got nothing else for you.
Good night.